Welcome to TV Africa News and thank you for always joining us. This is Africa Today. My name is Najima Luima, but first are the headlines. Stanbic's Purchasing Managers Index shows demand grows and economy on the bounce. Government urges Ugandans to take opportunity of NSSF. Burundian forces in eastern DRC claim local sources. In sports, Achai Ali goal spurs KCCA over Mbarara City to restore UPL summit status. A warm welcome once again. Now the news in detail. According to the Stanbic's Purchasing Managers Index, December 2021 saw further increases in output and new orders in the Ugandan private sector as demand continued to improve. However, the index shows employment decreased following a rise in November and the price pressures were evident again. As a result, the headline PMI fell to 51.5 in December, down from 54.1 in November. We have more. Although pointing to a fifth successive improvement in business condition in the private sector, the latest PMI figure was below the average since the series began in June 2016. The head of trading at Stanbic Bank Uganda, Ronald Muyanja, said rising customer numbers amid improving demand resulted in increases in both outputs and new orders during December, in each case for the fifth month running. According to the index, activity expanded in the agriculture, services and wholesale and retail sectors but declined in construction and industry. In turn, farms expanded their purchasing activity again, feeding through to another rise in stocks of inputs. Farms were aided in their efforts to build inventories by shorter delivery times from suppliers. But employment dropped in December after having risen for the first time in 6 months. During November, some farms indicated that they had reduced staffing levels in order to limit costs. Away from labor expenses, however, costs continued to rise and respondents linked higher input prices to a range of factors, most notably increases in costs of cement, electricity, food, fuel and stationery. A positive demand environment enabled companies to pass on higher input costs to customers, resulting in a fifth consecutive monthly increase in selling prices. The Minister of Gender, Labour and Social Development, Honorable Betty Amongi, has called upon Ugandans to embrace the National Social Security Fund and save for their retirement. This follows President Yoweri Museveni's assent to the NSSF Amendment Bill into Act of Parliament.
Addressing a news conference at the Government Media Centre in Kampala, Honorable Betty Amongi, the Minister of Gender, Labour and Social Development, assured savers that their funds are available and urged Ugandans to make use of the opportunity and save for their future.
So I want to encourage Ugandans, take opportunity. In many countries like Singapore, like Malaysia and others, a social security fund is a very big player and a very big saving mechanisms for the ordinary people. So I want to encourage you to now use this opportunity and save more so that you can secure your future through NSSF.
Amongi clarified that the law has been put in place and it takes 60 days to put in place a regulation to allow people who are eligible to access the money, adding that the workers will hopefully access their money in the coming 2 months.
This particular one says after the president assent, it's gazetted, but after gazettement, we have to make a statutory instrument, and good enough, the time frame for making the statutory instrument is stipulated in the law. It's within 60 days, but we will work hard to make sure that probably we don't reach the 60 days.
The long wait for savers who have clocked 45 years of age to access their money ended on Monday. The President signed the amendment to the National Social Security Fund, but Parliament will have to put in place a statutory instrument to allow savers to withdraw 20% of their savings. NSSF is a national savings scheme mandated to provide social security services to private sector employees in Uganda. The provision for midterm access was considered after coronavirus, also known as COVID-19, disrupted the social and economic lives of different people across the world. Nalgo Muyingo, Africa Today.
Uganda Prison Service has restricted visits to prisons as a mechanism of curbing the spread of COVID-19 amongst prisoners and officers. The authorities said only those who are fully vaccinated shall be allowed to access prisons. Kachancho reports.
Prison's spokesperson Frank Baine said that for one to be allowed into prison, they will have to have a vaccination card and should have tested for COVID-19 within the last 72 hours. Baine added that those allowed may include advocates and those who may urgently need to visit. He noted that prisons still have a challenge of congestion. Baine said that their capacity in prisons is 20,000, but they are stagnant with 67,000 prisoners, and due to public holidays excitement, the crime rate went a bit high. He said they have at least 12,753 staff members in 62 prison units. Of these, 2,116 staff and 507 prisoners have recently tested positive for COVID-19. A total of 273 prisoners and 1,946 staff, he said, are free of COVID-19. Baine said they have lost 4 prisoners and 3 prison staff to the pandemic in the last 1.5 years.
Let's take a quick break. We will be right back. Welcome back. You're still watching TV Africa News, The Right to Know. Burundian troops have allegedly been identified in the Democratic Republic of Congo. Witnesses from the town of Lemera, which is located in the province of South Kivu, claim Burundian forces entered illegally into the Congolese region last December. We have more on this report.
According to Lemera area's chief who spoke to the media, Burundian soldiers were chasing the Red Tabara, a Burundian rebel group which is based in the east of the Democratic Republic of Congo. The group is responsible for the Bujumbura airport attack that occurred on September 21st, injuring 50. Red Tabara was formed in 2011 with the objective of overthrowing the government, which it says does not respect the rule of law. The spokesperson for the Congolese army in the South Kivu province has not confirmed nor denied the allegation. In restive eastern Congo, the presence of foreign military has sparked outcry in the past. Last month, clashes between residents and the police broke out in Goma, the capital of North Kivu province, as rumors emerged suggesting Rwandan soldiers had been charged with maintaining law and order. The region suffers from decades of instability stirred up by the Red Tabara rebels and other military groups in that part of the Democratic Republic of Congo.
Moving on, the UN Security Council got 5 new members on Tuesday as Albania, Brazil, Gabon, Ghana, and the United Arab Emirates formally took up the posts they won in an election in June. Gabon and Ghana each have been on the council 3 times before, and the UAE once. The 15-member council is the UN's most powerful body. China, France, Russia, the United Kingdom, and the United States are permanent members with veto power. Other members are elected by the 193-member General Assembly for 2-year terms that are allocated by global regions. The African continent non-permanent seats on the Security Council were held by Kenya, Tunisia, and Niger. South African and Senegalese presidents had last year called for a permanent representation of the African people in the Council. Council members also can convene meetings on security topics of particular interest to them, and smaller countries get to share a prominent platform with world powers. More than 50 of the UN's 193 member countries have never been elected to the Council since it was formed in 1946. Away from that, the authorities in Panama have confirmed the extradition of the main suspect in the killing of Haitian President Jovenel Moise.
The former Colombian military officer Mario Palacio is one of the group of about 20 men implicated in the murder of Haitian president in July 2021 in the capital Port-au-Prince. After the murder, Palacio fled to Jamaica, where he was arrested and interrogated by American investigators. On Monday, the suspect was intercepted in Panama during a stopover on a flight from Jamaica and heading to Colombia. Palacio was then transferred to a flight heading to Miami, where he was presented to a federal court on Tuesday. During the course of investigations, more than 40 people have been arrested.
On Tuesday, the police announced men, women, and children abducted more than 2 months ago had recovered their freedom. It is the end of an ordeal for the nearly 100 hostages who had been taken from their homes and along highways in remote communities in Zamfara and neighboring Sokoto state.
Among the 79 former hostages who reached Gusau, the capital of Zamfara state in the north of Nigeria on Tuesday, were 19 babies and more than a dozen children. Looking malnourished, weary and wearing worn-out clothes, they were used to living in abandoned forest reserves that served as hideouts for the gunmen. Police said the hostages were rescued unconditionally on Monday in joint security operations targeting the camps of armed groups that have been terrorizing remote communities across the northwest and center of Africa's most populous country. The rescue brought a sight of relief in Nigeria, where armed groups have killed thousands and kidnapped many residents and travelers in Nigeria's troubled north. In this part of the country, a decades-long conflict opposes large bands of assailants, who are mostly young men from the Fulani ethnic group, to the Hausa farming communities, resulting in insecurity.
Let's once again take a quick break. We will be right back. Welcome back. You're still watching TV Africa News, the right to know. In our business news today, Moroccan travel agents demonstrated in front of the headquarters of the Ministry of Tourism in Rabat to draw attention to the disastrous situation of the sector after the country abruptly shut its borders on November 29th over the Omicron variant of COVID-19, the latest blow to an industry battered by the nearly 2-year pandemic.
Moroccan tour operators threatened with bankruptcy due to border closures protested on Tuesday, calling for the tourism industry to be saved as the coronavirus wreaks havoc on international travel. Close to 200 industry workers demonstrated in front of the tourism ministry in Rabat, demanding the reopening of borders and talks with the authorities, citing the dramatic collapse of the industry in the wake of the pandemic. Raja Ould Hamada, owner of a travel agency in Marrakech, said the border closure had favored other countries such as Egypt, Turkey, the Emirates and others, as all their scheduled reservations were cancelled in favor of those destinations. Morocco suspended all passenger flights from November 29th until 31st as a result of rising infections of the Omicron variant worldwide. Rabat recently promised about $216 monthly allowance to tourism workers for the final quarter of 2021.
In our health news today, after consultations with the Cameroonian government, the African Football Federation said on Tuesday that additional rules would apply due to the coronavirus pandemic. Stadiums will have their capacity kept at 80% for the hosts' matches. Other fixtures will only be played in front of 60% of the ground's capacity. We have more on this report.
Before any team lifts the African Cup of Nations on February 6 in Cameroon, the 24 squads which secured their place in the competition will play in 6 different stadiums. For spectators who will come and watch the matches, in addition to vaccination and a negative test already mandatory, the African Football Federation announced new rules on Tuesday. After consultations with the Cameroonian government, the federation decided that stadiums will have their capacity kept to 80% for the hosts' matches. Even with these precautions, many teams have been impacted by infections. Senegal's national soccer squad was forced to delay its flight to the AFCON after players and 6 members of the backroom staff tested positive for coronavirus. Cape Verde and Tunisia have also reported new cases in their teams, while Gambia and Ivory Coast were forced to cancel warm-up games because of outbreaks in their squads. Malawi has left 3 players behind in Saudi Arabia, where the team had a training camp because they tested positive. Nigeria left striker Victor Osimhen of Italian club Napoli out of its African Cup squad because of his positive virus test. Despite the health crisis, football lovers hope the party will not be spoiled. Sunday's opening match between Cameroon and Burkina Faso will be played at 60,000-seater Olembe Stadium in Yaoundé.
In our sports news today, Kampala Capital City Authority Football Club returned to the summit of the Uganda Premier League with a slim 1-0 on Barara City at the MTN Omondi Stadium, Lugogo. Left back Herbert Achai was the hero with the day's solitary strike in the very first minutes. We have more with Kachanchu.
Achai struck from 25 yards after an enterprising run from the backline with a venomous shot that goalkeeper Martin Elungati failed to tame. Kampala Capital City Authority defended gallantly to deny the Ankole Lions the equalizer. Thomas Kakairi called out the ball from close range in one of the closest moments for Barara City. Kampala Capital City Authority used this match to welcome back midfielder Yasam Gerwa from injury and Fibat Obenchan's second homecoming. The victory helped Kampala Capital City Authority outjump Vipers on the top of the table standings with 32 points, 2 ahead of the second placed. Meanwhile, a 10-man Busoga United outmuscled Onduparaka 2-0 at the Federation for Uganda Football Association Technical Center in Njeru. Shaka Sozi headed home the opener in the 18th minute off a corner kick by Edrin Opala Mukisa. Sozi turned the provider for Opala for the second goal with a quarter an hour to play.
That was the news. Thank you for always keeping it. TV Africa, please do stay tuned. More programming coming your way.